Hello Year 6 and welcome to Wednesday's maths lesson. So today we're going to be carrying on with multiplication. You did a brilliant job yesterday remembering the mental methods and also reminding yourself of the written methods for short multiplication. So we're going to do a little bit more practice of that today. Okay, so we are using our multiplication methods and it's page 12 in the book today. Okay, I'll quickly show you page 12. So it's this one, okay? So I have got today another little starter for you to get your brains going, to remind yourself of the 8 times table, because we are going to need the 8s for the first bit of our learning today. Now I have got a game for you online. Now I've done a QR code if you've got a device to scan. If not, I will send you the link to the game out on Marvellous Me. So I'll show you what you need to do. So I'm going to scan the QR code. So if you want to pause the video if you need to and scan the QR code, and it will take you to a game. So it'll take you to this screen. Okay, so it's called Daily 10. So you've only got 10 questions that you need to look at. Okay, so you need to choose a level, and then you need to choose multiplication here. A little bit smaller on my phone. And then I want you to look at the 8s, okay, because that's what we're going to need today. Then you choose how long you're going to give yourself for each question. So I'm only going to give myself 3 seconds, even though I'm not brilliant at the 8s. Okay, so then, and I've clicked on the 9s. So then each question, you need to write it down, the answer in your purple book. Okay, so you don't answer it online, you jot down your answer to each of the questions. So as the questions flash up, jot your answer down. Okay, so you might start on might give yourself 7 seconds to start off with. See how you do, challenge yourself to a little bit less. So go through each of the questions and jot your answer down. And eventually you will get this screen. And then you can click on the answers. So click across on each of the answers and see how you have done. Okay, so you might have a couple of goes at that game just to get that 8 times table really fresh in your mind, because you're going to need it today. Okay, so once you've had a go at that, so pause the video now, have a go at that game. So once you've had a go at that, we're going to have a look at our short multiplication. Okay, so I've got my number, so 2,436 multiplied by 8. Now your answer here, remember, needs to be bigger than 2,436 because we're multiplying. The number is going to get bigger, okay? So always starting at the ones column. So you need to start at the right-hand side. And I'm going to multiply every number by 8, okay? So 6 times 8 is 48. Now remember that it needs to still look like 48. So you carry the 10s and the 1s go in your answer box. Okay, so 3 times 8 is 24. Then add the 4 on, so 28. So carry the 10s, put the 1s in the answer box. Okay, 4 times 8 then is 32. Add 2 is 34. So carry the 10s, the 1s goes in the box. Then 2 times 8 is 16. Add the 3 is 19. So you should have 19,488. Okay? So I've got another example for you here that I want you to pause the video and have a go at. So it's 5,273 multiplied by 8. So I want you to pause the video now and have a go at that one. And then we will go through that one again together to see how you have done. Okay, so you should have had a go at that one now. So we always start with the ones and then we multiply each number by 8. So 3 times 8 is 24, so carry the 10s and put the 1s in the box. 7 times 8 is always the one that's tricky for me, is 56. Add 2 is 58. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 5 is 21. I'm crossing off to make sure that I've added it as well. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 2 is 42. Okay, so you should have 42,184. Okay, so now I want you to pause the video and have a go at all of the questions on section 1, where you are doing short multiplication and multiplying by 8. So have a go at those ones now. Okay, so now you've had a go at section 1, we're going to move on to section 2. Now, section 2 is all about multiplying by 10, 100 and 1,000. Okay, so remember, like I said at the beginning, with multiplication, the number is going to be getting bigger. Okay, so when we are looking at our place value, so I would multiply by 10, 100 and 1,000. Remember that it moves along the columns, and I'm going to show you what to do. So you all might want to do this in your book. I made myself a place value chart. So you might want to pause the video and write these columns down. Try and get it all onto the visualizer. Okay. So I've got hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, then 0.1, which is my tenths, 0.01, which is my hundredths, and 0.001, which is my thousandths. Okay, so I'm going to use this to help me to multiply by 10, 100, and 1,000. Now, when I'm multiplying by 10, this is a tip, when I'm multiplying by 10, my numbers move one place. When I'm multiplying by 100, they move 2 places. When I'm multiplying by 1,000, they move 3 places. Okay, so that is a top tip. So I've got a couple of numbers that I'm going to do with you. Okay, so my first number then, I'm going to multiply by 10, 100 and 1,000, is 12.098. I'm going to put it on my chart. So 12.098. Okay, so when I multiply that by 10, it's going to move one place to the left because the number should be getting bigger. Okay, so each number needs to move one place to the left. Okay, so I'm going to move the 1 into the hundreds column, the 2 into the tens column, the 0 into the ones column. I still need my decimal point, the 9 into the tenths column, and the 8 into the hundredths column. Okay, so I've moved it one place to the left. Okay, so that's multiplying by 10. Now multiplying by 100, I need to move it 2 places. Now be really careful here if you are using the chart. Okay, you might want to write your answer down in the grid, then cross it off so that you've done that one. So I'm always using the original number here. So now I've got to move this one 2 places because I'm multiplying by 100. Okay, so 1, 2. So that's going to go into the thousands column. Okay, so 1, 2. So that goes into the hundreds column. 1, 2. That goes into the tens column. 1, 2. That goes into the ones column. And then the 8, 1, 2. That goes into the tenths column. And remember your decimal point. Okay, so that's multiplying by 100. Okay, so the final one is multiplying by 1,000. So that's 3 places. Okay, so I'm going to cross that off so I don't get confused. I'm starting with this number, even if you write that number again, so that you don't get confused. So this time I'm moving it 3 places. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for the thousands then, I've moved it 3 places to the left. Remember, we're always, because we're multiplying today, so when it's multiplying, you always move to the left because the number is getting bigger. Okay, so I'm going to ask you now to pause the video and have a little go at doing 6.17. Okay, so putting that onto your chart and multiplying it by 10, 100 and 1,000. You don't have to use a chart. Some of you I know would be confident doing this in your head. Okay, but if you need to use a chart, go back, pause it, copy my chart out and have a go at 6.17. Pause it, then we'll come back together. Right, okay, so you should have had a go at 6.17. So I'm going to put 6.17 on my chart. Cross those off, so you might have a rubber at home to rub them out. Okay, so I've got 6.17. So to multiply it by 10, I'm moving one place. So 6, 1 goes there, and I can't forget my decimal point because I've still got numbers in the decimal columns. I have to squeeze this on. Okay, so then multiply by 100, it needs to move 2 places. So 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, and so I've got 617. Then the next one then is by 1,000. So you've got to be really careful here. So it's 3 places. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, I can't have my ones column empty because if I write that down in the table, it's just going to look like 617. So I can't have an empty space here. So what do I need there? Oh, I need a placeholder now. Remember, the placeholder is 0. So it would be 6,170. Okay, so if we go back to our chart, section 2. Okay, so when you've multiplied it by 10, write it in there. When you've multiplied it by 100, write it in there. When you've multiplied it by 1,000, write it in there. Okay, so you might need to write a few of these charts out, okay, because that does really, really help. Okay? Right, so pause the video and have a little go at that one. Right, well done. Okay, now the final section is this one. Now I only want you to have a look at 3 of the questions on this one, okay, because I want you to just use the learning from yesterday and today. Okay, so I will show you these on the board. So it's just A, B, and D that I want you to have a go at because they actually use yesterday's and today's learning. Okay. So the first one then, televisions cost £1,200 each. Harold buys 12. Okay. So he buys 12 televisions. How much does he spend in total? Okay. Now what I've done here is I've highlighted the important numbers. So I've got 1,200 and 12 highlighted and total. Okay, so if we could do 1,200 added together 12 times, but it's actually much quicker and more efficient to do 1,200 times by 12. Now you don't need a grid for this. You don't need to use short or long multiplication. Remember our strategy from yesterday. To cover up the zeros, do 12 times 12, then put your zeros back on. Okay, so that's that one. B then is a little bit similar, but you're using both a mental strategy and a written one. Okay, so you've got Joseph is planting trees in his orchard. He plants 5 rows of 20. Okay, so I've got 5 rows of 20 and 18 rows of 7. So I'm going to use 2 different strategies here. I'm going to use my covering up the 0 one here. And then I'm going to use a short multiplication one for that one. Okay, so there's the 2 strategies that will help you. Now remember, it asks you how many trees does he plant in total. So you're going to need to get your answer to this one, your answer to that one, and add them together. So it's 3 steps actually to that one that you've got to do. Okay, and then the final one, remember we're not doing C, we're doing D next. Rob packs 12 boxes containing 40 books each. Okay, so again, I'm going to use that because I've got a 0. That strategy for that one. And then 8 boxes containing 60 books. So I can use that strategy again. So remember, cover the 0, do the multiplication, then put the 0 back on. Okay? And then, because I want to know how many altogether, I'm going to add those 2 answers together. Okay? So you've got those 3 little challenge word problems at the end using the strategies that we've used over the past 2 days. Okay? So really looking forward to seeing your work as usual. Please send your photographs in and we'll have a good look at them. You're doing really well with multiplication. I'm really proud of you as the time goes on, how much enthusiasm you are still showing. So keep it up. Well done.